Hello, all you ladies and gents. This is a Semi-Factual Fictions podcast. I'm your host, Jake, along with my co-hosts, Samuel, Rob, and Jeremy. This is going to be a quick disclaimer before we get into our program today. We are not professionals in any shape or form. These are complete opinions of the host, and they do not represent any entities that may be mentioned today. All right, guys, how are we doing today?
I'm pretty good.
Doing great today.
All right, so this is our first ever episode of us recording this. We have never done this before, but being that it's quarantine and all, we decided that we would go ahead and that we would start something.
Well, it's our first episode recording it and our first episode not recording it.
True.
Yeah, it's our first episode ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's been a crazy 2020.
Yes,
We
for
have,
sure.
My goodness. Sad.
We've had the pandemic, but it's been a blessing and a curse at the same time because I've done a lot of stuff. I mean, I've been sick for a little while, but I've done stuff like a lot of studying and a lot of betterment of myself. And we're starting this podcast. I had more time to spend with the family, even though I've been in my room alone.
Spending
Dude,
time
I'll
with
tell
the
you,
family in my room.
Just like you said, all this free time. I mean, I've been able to just read my Bible more and pray more and just, get closer to God. So, it's been a blessing in disguise,
I have not had as much time as you guys because my work has pretty much stayed pretty consistent just because I work outside and I am an essential worker. But I am still for sure trying to spend more time with God and
Now, on that
take
note,
time on other stuff.
On that note, Samuel, I know you just mentioned essential.
Yes.
What do y'all feel about all the, I guess you would say, commotion going on about, who's essential and who's not essential? What is y'all's take on that?
Well, first off, as far as me, I don't know a whole lot about this, so I'm just going to be listening to y'all's opinions.
Right. So they're saying basically, in essence, that people like doctors, people who are public servants, police officers, firefighters, anything to that nature is going to be considered and labeled essential, but other people, that they wouldn't consider essential is going to be people who have less of a demand on their job, and it doesn't really affect others in that aspect. But
there's a lot of terms for essential, and honestly, I don't think we truly understood what essential was until this pandemic started. If you were to ask me at the beginning of this whole pandemic, I would have not said, employee working at McDonald's would have been considered essential to our society. But here we are, and they've been on the forefront of this pandemic, keeping society somewhat normal. Mm-hmm. And then people such as, the lawyers and all these high-end jobs, they're the people that are not considered essential and that can work from home and that haven't really stopped anything from going on in society.
Yeah, I agree with
Sam.
you on your whole, it did not, like you said, you wouldn't think of a McDonald's employee as an essential worker, but really they have helped people to cope with everything that's going on. They've helped to keep it and make it almost seem like it's normal so everybody doesn't freak out, which a lot of people are doing. So I think I agree with you in that it may not look like they're essential, but to a sense they are.
So I've heard a lot of people who have been getting somewhat angry at the fact that their job is not considered essential in that aspect to where they should go in every day to their work and to do their job. What do y'all think about that? Do you think they have a right to be infuriated, or do you think they should comply with the CDC and the government's orders?
I don't think that they have a right to be infuriated because I work. Sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
Well, you have to think about it on their point of view. They're just not mad because they can't go into work. They're mad because they're
true.
not.
And if you think about it, like it could be a lower class family, and they may have several children, several mouths to feed. So in that concern, do you think they should be infuriated and they should be
To
angry?
that concern, I don't think that they should be angry that their job isn't essential. I mean, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
you're not making as much money as you would want to make, but that doesn't
Mhm.
mean that your job suddenly becomes essential.
And
Yeah.
I don't think that they're angry. I think they're more frustrated and worried, being like, well, I'm living the paycheck to paycheck as
Yeah.
it is.
True. Yeah.
That weekly income coming in, what am I going to do? So they're lashing out. They're not thinking clearly. I guess that's the way to put it. But
Mhm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and honestly, if you think about it, this what were they calling it? The check they were sending out.
The stimulus check.
Yes, the stimulus check. What is y'all's thoughts on that? Do you think it was necessary, and what do you think? How far do you think that stimulus check is going to take the American people?
Well, I do think it was necessary, but I don't think it was enough to really make that much of a difference. I know for me, I've been out of work 3 months. This is my 12th week being home due to sickness. And like when that stimulus check came, it was a blessing. It helped pay some bills, but that's been long gone now. And so I do think it was a blessing. I think it was needed, but I don't think that it really, because I don't have that many bills. I'm not, I don't have a lot of bills, but I'm not got a family to support. So
Right.
I can't imagine how far $1,200 went to a family of
Yeah.
4 that have mortgages and expensive car payments and insurance and groceries and
Ooh.
all that. I can't imagine how far that went.
Talking about
Yeah, exactly.
talking about all that, I heard that college students are really getting hit hard because, especially some of them that are still considered to be living with their parents, because they aren't getting that money back, and most of them aren't getting their jobs back because it often has to do with a college-related job, and they aren't able to go back into college and do all that stuff. So I've actually heard that college students are kind of getting shafted with all of everything going on and aren't able to actually make any money now, and aren't getting a good amount of stimulus check because they're still technically under the roof of their parents' house.
Yeah, that's true. Some college students are not eligible for the stimulus checks because if your parents claim you under this bill, you are not eligible for stimulus checks. But I do know I have a friend. She is still getting paid by her college. She had I forgot the exact name of it. She worked for the school, and they're still paying her during this pandemic.
wow.
She hasn't really been working. So I think some of the state-run schools are still paying their employees even though they're not technically working. So there's some that have it bad, but there's some that they're doing all right with it.
Yeah.
But there's actually a new bill that even President Trump said that he supported a second round stimulus check and hope it got passed. But there's a bill now that would include everybody to get another round of stimulus check. That includes up to it's like $8,000 per household.
Wow.
And that's it's like I don't think it'll get passed. I'm not advocating for it, by the way. I'm just saying this is what's in that's up for grabs right now. They have proposed a $2,000 per person per household. That's not that's including minors. So like it doesn't matter if you're under the age of 18 this time, you would still get one. It also allows illegal immigrants. It allows people that are here on visas that can't go home because of this. It helps a lot of people, and
that's really good.
So what is y'all's take on like what Jacob just said? You said that these illegal immigrants who are here illegally are capable of receiving this stimulus check.
Yeah, that's
what is y'all's thoughts on that?
Here illegally, that's what illegal means.
I understand that it's
good point.
illegal, but my humanitarian heart is like we can't just let them die.
I agree.
We got to do something.
No, that's true. That's absolutely
just because they may not be part
I agree
of our
totally.
system.
It's kind of a hard subject to deal with.
Yeah,
especially right now at a time
it's a touchy
of crisis.
subject too.
Yeah.
But, correct me if I'm wrong. This all sounds well and good, but correct me if I'm wrong. They said they were going to pay for it. They were going to make 2 coins that was worth, was it
$1 trillion each. Yeah.
$1 billion?
Oh man.
How do
Yeah, I
y'all
think that was an
feel?
old draft of the bill. I don't think that's no longer the case.
Oh, is there a new draft now?
Yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
don't
The
even,
first draft was crazy. Like there was no way our economy would tank if
dude.
that was to happen.
And
But
that's another thing. A lot of people are thinking that, since the economy's been shut down for so long, and I'm not even sure right now if we've officially opened back up, but they're thinking that it's going to have a serious repercussion later down the line because of how long the economy was closed. They're thinking that it could have a severe impact.
it will. I believe it'll take at least 6 to 12 months, if not longer, for us to begin to see a little resurgence. So many small businesses have closed down. So many people are on unemployment. So many jobs have been laid off that our economy can't help but go down. And it's not really anybody's fault. It's not a Republican's fault or a Democrat's fault for this. It's just something that happened. We had a pandemic.
Right.
And so our economy is definitely at the worst of it right now and will take a while to recover.
Yeah, definitely.
But 2020 has been crazy. We've had a pandemic. We've had multiple different things go on. We've had wildfires in Australia. We've had the threat of World War III.
Dude.
We've had a bunch of different things in 2020. Right now, here in America, at least, big topic is racial injustice.
Uh-huh.
Have you guys heard anything about those?
Oh my goodness, yeah, it's been all over, the different social media platforms and stuff.
I'm almost never on social media, so to be completely honest, I have no idea what any of this is. Like, this is all news to me.
Well, it started, I think it was last month, back in April, when Ahuamd Arbery was out for a jog, and he was chased by a father and a son and another man who suspected him for breaking into houses when they didn't really have any proof. And they tried to put him under citizen's arrest. And he was like, "No, you're not taking me in. You're not a police officer. I'm not listening to you." And he resisted, and they shot him. They killed him. And so he was blatantly murdered on camera.
Did
they
were
ever
these people
confirm
police officers, or were they just normal citizens?
No, they were just random people
The
in the
father
neighborhood.
was a former police officer, but
he wasn't
in active duty at the time.
Yeah.
Did they ever find out who who actually was the one breaking in, or?
To my knowledge, not at this time. I think they're still searching into it. I know that the father and son were arrested, but I believe they had a bail. I don't know if they put up bail. Yeah, but so it's just been like a really big racial stuff going on right now. So he was suspected simply because they assumed it was a black man that was breaking into the area, is what they're saying right now. And the father and son were arrested. I don't see anything about them if they've been tried yet. I don't think so. Trials normally take a long time.
Sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and like I mean, people are like, he shouldn't have fought with people that had a gun. He should have just complied. I'm like, no. If somebody was to come up to me and said, "We think you're breaking into houses. We're putting you under citizen's arrest," I'll be like, "Try it." No, you ain't doing that to me. I will fight you tooth and nail.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he shouldn't have complied, even though they had guns, and even though he may not,
And in the case that, what did you say it was Ahuamd Arbery? I don't want to butcher the name too bad, but
Ahuamd Arbery.
Okay,
we got Southern accents.
Yeah, definitely. But in the case that he actually was the one who was committing these crimes, I still think and I still feel that this father and this son were definitely in the wrong in their actions.
Oh, for sure.
So.
Yeah.
Let's say even if Ahuamd was the burglar. They should have
Yes,
called
they
the
should
police.
not.
Yeah, they
That's how
definitely
it should
didn't
have been
approach it
handled.
the
I
right
agree.
way.
It was not their place to shoot this. It wasn't their place to pull their guns on this man. That was wrong of them, and especially not to shoot him at
And then
all.
they filmed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they say that was
And
like an accomplice or somebody associated with
yeah,
the
no,
father and
he got
son?
arrested as well.
Oh,
He got
okay.
arrested
All
as
right.
well
Gotcha.
as an accomplice to
Well,
murder.
a smarter way to go about it. I'm not saying what the son and father did was correct and they were right in it because they were totally wrong in it. But if somebody has a gun to you, probably the best way is, if you have done nothing wrong, is to just go with them to the police, because they had to take them to the police station, correct? They just can't
Yeah.
arrest them. They had to take them somewhere. Go down to the police station and then prove yourself, because
Well, you gotta.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying
you
that
gotta think of it from yourself. Like if you were the person, somebody pulled a gun on you, suspecting you of robbing somebody's house. I'm not gonna go. Oh,
No.
well, that's that's a gun. You're not gonna shoot me. I'm fine. I'm probably gonna get the crap scared out of me and beg them not to shoot me, and kind of go with the flow. But I'm also not going to. I'm. It's. I still believe that it's not their place to do that. Yeah.
Well, no. Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah.
It's not their place to go and point a gun at somebody and say, "We don't know it's you, but we think
Mhm.
it's you, so we're gonna take you."
And yes, it's easy to look back and to say he should have done this, they should have done that. But in that moment, I probably would have done the exact same thing
that
Yeah,
is
I agree.
true.
Ahuamd and
Yeah,
Arbery did. My adrenaline would have been
Right.
rushing.
yeah.
I would have been angry and upset that people were stopping me, telling me what to do, accusing me of a crime I know I
Exactly.
didn't
Yeah.
commit.
Yeah. And I
Um,
mean, you can look at it two different ways. Either he was scared because these men are pointing guns at him. He has potential to die, or
Yeah.
he didn't want to get captured if he was the one who did the break-ins. But even in that case, like I previously stated, they did not approach it in the right
Yeah.
way.
No, not at all.
The
No.
police should have been
Yeah.
called 100%.
Yeah.
and Mr. Aubrey's death caused a big splash on social media. We were seeing people posting, running with Arbery. We were seeing them talk about injustice and stuff. But that was nothing compared to the splash that our next topic is talked about. The next racial injustice that just came to light a few days ago. George Floyd. And
Yeah.
if you have not watched the video,
Dude,
all right,
that
so
is
George,
just so sad to watch. I hate that. He was literally yelling out, is
Well, hold on.
he could barely even
Hold on,
speak
Rob.
at that point, but he was.
I don't know what they're talking about. So
okay, so let me
Yeah.
explain for
I'm
you
sorry.
and for the listeners who may not who may be living under a rock like Samuel and not understand what is going on right now, because literally it is everywhere on social media. There was a man named George Floyd. The police got called to the scene because they believe, if I'm not mistaken, that there was a fraudulent check trying to be passed, and they assumed it was Mr. Floyd who was doing this. So they tried to arrest him. He didn't resist at all. But one of the officers, a white guy, older white guy, I forgot his name at the moment, slammed him to the ground, handcuffed him, and you would think that would be it, but he persisted to put his knee and his whole body weight on his neck for about 7 to 9 minutes. And Mr. Floyd is on the ground. He's like, I can't breathe. Get off me. Stop. And then as he starts to realize that he's fixing to die because nobody will help him, the police officers are just watching, and this man is cold-blooded murdering him.
And
He starts to be remorseful, and he's like, Mama, I need you. Mama, I'm sorry. Mama. He calls out for his mom. And dude, it will bring any man to tears to see that type of hatred in someone's eyes. What made it so bad, that officer stayed on his neck even after he was unconscious for about 3
Goodness
minutes.
gracious.
yeah,
He was not moving. He was not hardly breathing.
and that could literally cut off the oxygen supply to his brain, and you really can't go long at all when that gets
3
cut
minutes.
off,
That would definitely him be
Doctors,
and
doctors
even if
say
they were
that-
able to bring him back, it would have been like some serious brain
Yeah.
damage. I feel.
It only takes around 3 to 4 minutes for you to black out with pressure on your neck, and then it only takes around 2 to die if the pressure keeps
Yeah, if
on
your
after you
brain
Right.
doesn't
black out.
And
have
the
air
crazy
for 2
thing
minutes,
is,
then it's definitely
the
dead.
crazy thing is, like I'm sure Jacob just mentioned, there was like 3, I believe, other police officers on the scene,
Mhm.
and they didn't stop this
Yeah.
cop who was kneeling on Mr. Floyd's neck.
Well, yes, they should be held accountable to a certain extent because of that, but they are also on crowd control. So, and yes, they should be blamed because they stopped Good Samaritans trying to get to him,
Right.
trying to help him, and that other 3 police officers stopped them, but they were on crowd control trying to keep them back.
But
But
no, new evidence has emerged. I just read an article before we started this podcast that there was new car footage of the incident, and it shows 3 police officers on Mr. Floyd
Oh,
at
wow.
once.
Oh wow.
The man on the neck stayed on there the longest, but because he was behind a car, we couldn't really see from that picture that's so infamously going around Facebook and everywhere. But it's just a horrible incident, and so social media has been everywhere, and rightfully so. This is
Yeah.
atrocious.
Okay.
These animals are supposed to be civil servants to protect those
Yeah.
that can't protect themselves, to protect people, yet they're out there abusing their power and their badges
And
because they have internal
and not only
hatred.
are they staining their own reputation as a police
They're
officer,
standing.
they are staining the whole
Yeah.
reputation of every police officer. So that's why there's been such a
Mhm.
backlash on all police,
Yeah.
in the past few days.
Yeah, speaking of backlash, right now we're seeing riots like crazy everywhere, buildings burning down. We're seeing people tearing down and looting Targets and Walmarts and just whatever's going on. And it's crazy right now.
Yeah, crazy is definitely the right word to
Yeah.
use, but
And see, I get being upset. I get being mad, and we should be upset and we should be mad. And these animals should be prosecuted to the highest extent of our civil law. And I believe that they should receive the death penalty. I honestly
for
do. Because
all 4 officers,
all four of them.
all for okay.
Because there
See,
were
I
several
disagree
like
with you
were
on
on
that.
crowd control.
Yeah, I'm not
I
really
don't
sure how I
believe that
stand on that.
they should receive the death penalty.
Yeah,
I
I
do
don't really
believe
think
that
all
they
4.
should have time in prison for sure. A long time
Well,
in
hold
prison.
I know for sure that the man that stayed on his neck should receive the death
Oh
penalty.
yes, I
If
agree.
it's allowed, if it's allowed,
True.
On the
if
neck.
it's allowed in Minnesota, I don't know how Minnesota does that. If the
See,
death penalty is
And
allowed.
did you say
See,
earlier?
I still don't
And
even. So I still
Asian
didn't
cop
even
as well.
agree with you on that. I do believe, yes, what he did was wrong. What he did was very wrong, and it was very racist and horrible. But I
Well, we
don't
can't. We
believe.
really can't consider it a hate crime against the African American people, because if you think about it, if I'm not mistaken, the same officer was convicted, or I don't know if he was convicted of a similar instance previous in his career. So, not really sure about that.
I
That
just
that
looked up.
could
The death
be
penalty is not a
Yeah.
thing in Minnesota right now.
okay.
So that sucks. But anyway, I believe that, I believe that if you take another man's life, that you should pay with your very own life. Innocent
The
life.
officer
You
No,
take
that
an
no,
was
innocent
hold
life.
on. I disagree with you because the Bible specifically talks about God giving us a second chance, and so I do believe that we should give this man a second chance. But that doesn't mean that we need to trust him. And I do believe that he does need to spend time in jail because that is wrong. But I don't believe that we should kill him for taking another man's life. Not immediately, at least. I think we should give him a second chance.
But I don't think he'll get another chance, even
Well,
if
he
he
didn't
doesn't
kill.
get
He
the
didn't
death
kill another
penalty.
man. He murdered another man. He took an innocent life willingly, knowing
Yeah.
what he was doing.
And I
There's a
understand
difference.
that, but even people that did that, you read the Bible all the time. Even people that did that in the Bible, God gave them a second chance, and I believe that as Christians or just people,
He
True.
did, but he also told the Israelite people that if somebody kills you, they're to pay
Yes.
with their own life.
And I was about to bring up a similar instance. If you look back in the Bible, talking about like the Israelites, there was certain groups of
Yeah.
people that God told the Israelites to totally wipe out and decimate. So
Hmm.
it's kind of an iffy situation. It's kind of a hard
Yeah.
call, but
Yeah, and so, but anyway, since the death penalty is not a thing in Minnesota, they him the white dude that was on Mr. Floyd's neck and the Asian cop that was there, they need life in prison because they were the ones that were on his neck and the ones that were stopping people from helping him
Yeah.
and
See, I
would
agree
not
with you
help
on
him.
that.
And they at least need life in
yeah,
prison. They need the highest penalty allowed. They have to be made examples of so
Yeah.
that this can stop. But because honestly, the protests that they're doing now, the
Yeah.
riots, they're not going to do anything. They're not doing anything.
no,
They're
it's
hurting the communities
destroying
that are around them.
people's
They're
lives.
not hurting the
Yeah.
they're not hurting the government. They're not hurting the police. They're not hurting the racist people. They're hurting the community. And I understand that these people are hurt. This community is hurt. They feel betrayed, and they're lashing out at the town, at the community, and anything that's around them. And I
But
get that. I
going out
understand.
and
But
causing death and destruction is just doing what they did, pretty much. Obviously, not to the
yeah,
hate extent, but definitely
yeah.
to
But
the
these,
you're doing exactly what the person just did. If you go back and you kill somebody out of anger because of that, then you've automatically brought yourself down to the exact same level that he was at.
yeah, and these riots, they're burning down Wendy's and they're burning down Targets and stealing from Target. People now can't go to
Yeah.
work in that community. They can't buy groceries in that community. They got to go to the next town 15 miles over and they got to spend gas money to go there. They can't pay rent because of this. They're going to see more
Yeah.
poverty in that community now. They're going to see more people
Exactly.
suffering.
And like we were
And
talking about earlier, with the whole government as a whole is gonna receive a repercussion from the coronavirus and the lockdown of the government. It's gonna be the same way I feel in Minneapolis. There's gonna be a backlash
Mm-hmm.
eventually. Like you said, with poverty
yeah,
rates, rising and that type of thing.
and think about how many people are already suffering and are low on money right now due to the
Yeah. And then
coronavirus and
on
the
top of that,
pandemic.
this is happening and causing more suffering and pain that is completely unnecessary.
And I am not saying that, again, I want to emphasize that these protesters, I am not saying that that their
Yeah.
feelings are not valid, that they don't have a right to feel this way. I feel like the way they are expressing
Yeah.
these feelings
Exactly.
are wrong though.
Yeah, and
Now if they were to, I mean, not that I'm condoning violence in any way, but if they were to storm the police station, if they were to surround that police station with all those people and stand there and not let anyone in or out, that would make more waves than
Exactly.
burning down the Target in the community. If they were to go to the
Yeah.
governor's mansion and stand outside until justice was to happen, or to break down the gates of the governor's mansion, I'm not condoning that, by the way. I'm just saying that is
Yeah.
more of a protest that and a riot that would have a lingering effect
Yeah. There's a
in
way
that
to.
community, showing them that we the people are going to stand up to bullies like this, not that we the people, when something bad happens, are going to leave you guys alone and
Mhm.
take it out on our own
Yeah, there's a way
community.
to protest where you don't need to be violent and you don't need to be destructive. Being violent and destructive just takes away from your point completely, and it makes you not invalid, but it
Makes
makes
you look bad.
Now,
people don't want to look to you and go, well, I'd listen to them because they're responsible and smart. I would look to someone who stands there, like you were saying, stands there outside of the police station and says, I will not stand for this. I would look to them and go, I want to hear what they have to say, because I want to listen to their opinion and see what they have to say about this, because that seems like someone that I could, actually listen to and look up to a little bit at least.
Yeah, just to play devil's advocate here, though, when peaceful protests aren't enough, though, at what point though do we turn and
Yeah.
say we need a
Yeah.
revolution? And it may even be a violent revolution. Even we may need
Yeah,
another civil war to sort
I
things
agree
out.
with you
Who
there.
knows
I
what
think
can
And I do
happen?
feel,
I don't think we're at
yeah,
that point
as
yet, but I
if
feel like we're
another
getting
civil
there.
war happened, it would be far worse than the first one ever
Yeah.
was. And there's several more things involved now. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
people need to
yeah,
think
and
twice
it
before
would be
they
sad.
continue with these riots, because, like you said, it could spark a
Mm-hmm.
revolution.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying necessarily a revolution would be a bad thing. I'm just saying I don't think it's the right
Yeah.
time to start one. I don't think we have tried
Right.
enough options in a peaceful manner
Exactly.
for a revolution. But if things don't change, definitely, because even President Trump said that he was sending in the National Guard, and he said when the looting starts, the
Yeah.
shooting starts. So I don't necessarily disagree that business owners have the right to defend their stores, but I don't want to see the federal government opening
Yeah.
up fire on their civilians. That's what I see in
Oh
the
yeah,
Boston
definitely.
Massacre in the
Yeah.
early 1700s. I mean,
And,
I don't want to see that happen on American soils. And if that happens, I would not fault the civilians
Yeah.
for standing up
Yeah.
and shooting back.
and
So
and
I
it's
hope it's just
going
tough
to
talk.
bring more violence when the National Guard starts shooting because they got the orders to. They're looting and tearing up the place. That's just going to bring more violence. Like you said, you're going to have people being like, "Well, I ain't going to stand for this,"
And
and they're going to start shooting back.
even if,
I stuff getting hit
sorry, what?
and all that. You go ahead,
And
Roger.
even if these National Guard soldiers or whatever don't get the order to shoot, the potential for one of them to be infuriated and just get fed up with it, like if they're just being surrounded by protesters, spitting at them, throwing rocks at them, or whatever the case is, there is that potential for them to go to that next level. And like you said, if they fired those shots, that would be really, really bad. And
Yeah.
That would probably
yeah,
spark a civil
definitely.
war
No,
I mean,
I
it's
would
like
or
like.
another
it's honestly
revolution. Who
like
knows?
I would.
in the first Civil War. You've heard of the shot that was heard around the world. That was the beginning of so much blood and gore and war. And you wouldn't
Yeah,
if someone fires that first shot, that means everyone else is going to follow suit and to fire their gun as well.
right.
I would like
Yeah.
to say this real quick. Like Rob said, that the officers that or National Guard that would get like rocks thrown at them, water poured on them. I don't know if y'all seen the video, but they made a wall because the police they made a wall of officers and soldiers to because they were trying to get in that and they weren't able to get in. But to all the officers out there that stood their ground and didn't lash back because they got water dumped all over them, beer, glass thrown at them, and they stood there and
Yeah,
took
that
and
takes
didn't break
guts.
like Rob
Yeah,
was saying.
that's
Like,
just
Yeah, they're
oh
better
yeah.
men than I am.
yeah, that takes a lot
Better
of
men and women.
in there.
Yeah, we should be praying for
They
them. I
just
mean,
take,
because like you're saying, it's
yeah,
just they're just being faced with some really bad things right now. And it would be hard. It would
for
be very
sure.
difficult
Yeah,
to keep your demeanor, during that
Hmm.
time.
Yes, yeah.
yeah, for real. But yeah, we're living in tough times right now. In 2020, dude, when our kids have to study
Oof.
2020 in
Oh my
history
goodness.
class, dude, that
Really?
chapter is so thick
Big oof.
already, and it's only
Yeah.
halfway through.
I
Oh
really
Yeah.
hope and pray that the
It's
rest
going to
of the
be
year
crazy.
calms down because there's so much that's happened.
Oh yeah.